put you down on your knees. 'Cause when you're down on your luck, you throw your hands in the mud. He said these bodies are mine, and all these words are divine. Oh, you stand for the song. Oh, you wanna go home.
All right. That sounds good. Nature's Revenge. Pretty fitting song in some ways, eh? Wouldn't you say, Johnny?
I would say so. It's the rise of all of this craziness.
They had some interesting topics on the People's News. Always happy to follow them. I was listening to them on the way in and looking forward to listening to Afrotronic on the way out. Things may be shutting down, but KPFT is coming at you strong still. Don't forget to support us. If you're sitting around at home, if you don't already have it preset in every vehicle that you get in, that could be a campaign. That could be something to do. I know the shows are shut down and different things are shut down, but there you go. Do you have 90.1 preset in your grandma's car? But yeah, I think all that matters a lot because we're working hard. We're coming in here. We're disinfecting the microphones. We're staying on top of it. We're concerned about the economy because we know this has become a panic-demic and they're going to be printing every bailout possible. So, you know, after it all, everybody will just get their little checks and buy into it because, you know, they'll be a little bit corrupted by that money they take. And they'll just say, well, you know, obviously if I had to get 1,000, then Boeing needed billions and the New York Metro needed billions. And
I need some money too, man.
I know. I heard somebody that hates Trump that was complaining about 1,000. And I was just like, I don't know if you understand that every time a disaster happens, the banksters get themselves a whole bunch of money. And I don't believe that we need to give even us money. But at this point, I'm like, they're going to print it either way, you know. So anyway,
I don't get some of it, I suppose.
I don't know what to think about it, but
I'm
think
sure it will help a lot of people. If you think that that would help you, call in maybe.
I think that the decisions made by the individual members of the society, you know, they always talk about that trickle down from the richest. Well, if the money that they're going to print, because they're going to print it to put liquidity in the system, when they do that, if they just gave it to the people, then it could trickle up. Because, I mean, think about it. We're all going to go to these big places and buy whatever we're buying.
But a lot of people don't. Those companies probably don't want to take the risk or wait for it to come up to them.
And their lobbyists don't either, and neither do their puppets. I mean, they're the politicians. I'm sorry. So we got all kinds of music coming at you. We were just listening to El Jumbotron. We love to play the best music, and I know right now a lot of you are missing getting out to shows. And if you're missing some of your favorite bands, we want you to let us know who they are. Go to Free Thinker Radio. Drop a link there. We want to make sure we continue to cover the best. We have our favorites. Sometimes they stay in the rotation, maybe a bit long for our listeners. But, hey, we got the power to pick the ones we like best and play, and few other DJs get that privilege. Thank you very much, KPFT Houston, for that opportunity. And we'd like to hear from you today. If you're at home, if you're at work, what's going on in your life? Call us at 713-526-5738. We're going to get into the news. We're going to play a little bit of music. We might hear from Derek. He's not here today. He may be on vacation. He may be on staycation as things are closing down everywhere, and he's on scene in Mexico. So we want to cover this from a multinational angle.
We got reporters in different countries now.
We're stepping it up even more. I wish we were live streaming. I mean, the last time we live streamed on HD, Johnny, you would have loved it. I think it was like 1,300 views on YouTube and another 800 or so on
listening.
Facebook.
I hope that we have a lot more listeners at home getting this information.
Yeah, I liked it because it was a way to engage, and I'm hoping that some of the people who engaged with us through the live stream would now consider calling in again at 713-526-5738, especially towards the last 15 minutes of the show or so, because we got to get into things to talk about things, right? So let's hear some more music. One of the ones that we played last week that seemed to be pretty catchy and people like that listened to it was Day Eater. They're a band out of Austin, and their song Chef Monsanto. I want to say that they have so much more different sound and music to get into, and once we played this one into the ground, once we played this one a few times, we'll probably go further. But this one's a lot of fun, and
it's
it
just
fits
with
some
the
of the
show.
stuff.
Some people forgot about Monsanto. You know, we did those marches, and then they changed their name. What's their name now? Monsanto became something else.
They did something else. No, that's
forget.
a band.
All right, anyway, let's play it. This is Chef Monsanto.
Oh, I got a bone in my fruit. That's it. From now on, we're not eating anything unless we know what it is and where it's from. We're going to the local farmer's market.
The corporate kitchen, dinner's fire. Ancient orange is an appetizer. What's next you ask for? Oh, just you wait. Butterfly plans to fly both late. Now it's all that to eat. Believe me, it's true. Call that a promise to a hazmat suit you. Better eat what I put on that table. I'm Chef Monsanto. Just read the label. Do you want the GMOs? I don't want no GMOs. Well, who wants the GMOs? No one wants no GMOs. Global hunger, supply demand. We've got what you want, so we're in command. There is no seed for killing your bees. Come to us begging, we got what you need. So just clean your plate and know your place. Always been beneath this, and that's where you're gonna stay. See the mind of you, like the God mind of you, and I'm Chef Monsanto, and I know what I'm doing. Do you want the GMOs? I don't want no GMOs. Oh well, who want the GMOs? No one want no GMOs. I'm trying to destroy it. I'm trying to make poison. I'm trying to destroy it. I'm trying to make poison. In the corporate kitchen, dinner's for hire. Agent Orange is an appetizer. What that dad goes, just you wait. Butterfly plans to drive rose. All this to eat, believe me, it's true. Ignore that I promise you I had that suit you. Better eat what I put on that table. I'm Chef Monsanto, and you better read the label. Do you want those GMOs? I don't want no GMOs. Well, who wants the GMOs? No one wants no GMOs. 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 No one. No one wants no GMOs. No one wants no GMOs. No one wants no GMOs. No one. No one wants no GMOs. No one wants no GMOs. No one wants no GMOs. No one. No one wants no GMOs. No one wants no GMOs. No one wants no GMOs. No one.
Yeah, no one want no GMO. That's a fun one.
I
They're
don't want no
talented
GMO.
musicians. They're local enough. And what else we got going on? We got all kinds of stuff going on.
Not any events to announce.
not any events to announce. We're going to talk more about events as far as we've seen lots of live streaming events from musicians, from speakers, etc. We're going to try to share those type of events with you. And if we know of something going on, I tell you what is going on. You can go for a walk. You can go for a run. You can go to the store. You can do these
I have
things.
seen more people outside than I've ever seen as a dog walker. Like people actually walking and enjoying the nice weather for once.
I was hoping that there would be some positive consequences of this, and I think that might be one. The other thing is these kids are getting out of school, so they're not being victimized, indoctrinized, and all these other things that we've talked about on this show, and that's another. They're out getting sunlight. I saw more kids playing in the neighborhood that I live in than I've ever seen. I thought that kids didn't go out anymore. I thought they were all stuck on some sort of device, but the fact is they do go out. And it was really refreshing to see diversity of the kids racing their bikes and playing just like kids have always played. So I think, that was really cool. And I think that parents being able to plug into their kids' lives a little bit more, maybe that's good. And maybe they'll be a little bit more concerned when they go to turn them back over to the man, when this all when school's open again. But I know a lot are like, just get this brat out of my hair. I've got a job to go to and things to do. So I get that aspect. But at the same time, I'm looking for things that can happen. And one thing, Johnny and I think we brought it up on the show before, think in the face of, and I'm not trying to be too lighthearted when I say pandemic, but there's a lot of things that are going on. And like we said, a lot of people are going to be lining up for the bailouts, and it's going to affect the market. Just shutting down is affecting the market. All these restaurants with the food that they've already ordered, various things like that, tours that had already been scheduled, money that had been spent already that's just burned up. That alone, that'll have an effect. Not to mention people being a little bit concerned about the future, so tightening their belt. That'll have an effect. So there's all these effects, but and then you've got like a lot of crazy stories that you can hear. But one thing, like I said, that Johnny and I were talking about, and we've always talked about on this show, is gardening. And here we are in spring, Houston.
Hoping there's
bringing really
a new surge of gardening.
Yeah. And now's the time. Now's the time to plant some stuff, and get something going. I know a lot of people ran out to get toilet paper and to get all these other things, but we were saying, do you have tomato plant? Do you have some chard? There's this one person I know.
Squash is a quick turnover.
Yep, and potatoes. People like them. Yeah, and all kinds of plants that you can also have fun with and supplement your diet with. I've been surprised how much kale grows and some of these other things. So
for the first time I heard on NPR, someone actually suggests that you meet up with your neighbors and try to work together to grow food as well, because in this time you want to pay attention to your neighbors as well, because they're going to be out of jobs just as long as you can. You don't want to be the only one with a garden in the neighborhood
or growing all the same things.
Yeah, so I mean there's a lot of opportunity to team up with your fellow community and try to get through this together, because obviously two are better than one and a community is better than two.
And there are some places with neighborhood gardens and community gardens. They've been around in the past, and maybe that's something else that'll be a positive that we see, kind of rise up in this. And one thing I did see recently, because we do know a lot of people in hospitality workers and such, some nonprofit is actually paying, and I thought this was interesting, paying laid off hospitality workers to volunteer at the Houston Food Bank. This was basically new news, and it's the place is called MFE Food is Love. They will compensate volunteers for their time at the rate of $7.25 per hour. It's not a lot. I understand that.
It's a paycheck.
It's some money, and you're doing something, that's obviously needed in this time. It's always needed, the food bank, and it also actually was getting kind of beat up towards the end of last year. So I don't know how it's done in recuperating. The organization has budget set aside for approximately 50 people for next 2 weeks. So that's some money. That's getting some things done. Beyond that, 100% of any donations made to them will be used to enlist more volunteers. The more money raised, the more people that Food is Love can support to work at the food bank. So that sounded like something going on here in the Houston area. So I thought I'd shout it out, because I know we have many friends in the hospitality industry. It says these people have been supporting the food bank for years, and they're actually struggling right now. They're struggling in terms of money. They're struggling in terms of volunteers, said the CEO at Marine Foods Express. That's what MFE Food is Love is. And a partner at a restaurant. We already had money earmarked to donate for the food bank in 2020, and we decided to reposition those funds to help members of the hospitality industry that lost their jobs. So you got it for the most part. I could go into it a lot more. They say what, obviously helping the food bank, where the Houston Food Bank, 5355 Port Wall Street. When the food bank has shifts from Monday to Sunday that you can choose from. And we don't know what's going on. That might be a good place to be positioned, given we don't know what's coming up. So I think I'm getting some messages from our friend. Oh, we got to remind our friend of the number. It's 713-526-5738. Give us a call and tell us what you've been experiencing. I've had some messages from people outside the Houston area that have been kind of interesting. So we've heard about things in San Francisco. We talked to an individual from Italy on the HD side of things and heard about how it was during their lockdown. You could still go places, etc., but there's heavy penalties if you're outside the prescribed reasons for being out. And yeah, maybe everybody's not being met with everything, all these heavy penalties, but I think we're also seeing a lot of who's willing to just raise the authoritarian fist quickly all throughout the country. You know, we see mayors and people throughout the country being given really broad powers quickly. We've seen here in Houston, for example, just last week at City Council, they had a meeting to give the mayor emergency powers. And I was going to hope we could talk to Derek. We have a little clip that we're going to play from that, whether we get to or not. And only one or two council members even said anything to consider maybe not making these powers indefinite. And I thought that was really kind of peculiar that I get giving him, special powers in extreme emergency situations. I get the general logic of that, but not reviewing when they expire. One council member was saying, yes, we'll give them to him. Let's just renew it every 7 days at the council meeting or every month and it doesn't seem like that's what they went for. So that's a bit much, to say the least. I'm sure it's happening throughout the country. So yes, I am sorry for the delay there. Let's see what else we have going on. So nonetheless, yeah, I was talking to him a little bit, Johnny, about the city council meeting and throughout the country, how various mayors and I was getting ready to move on to some more national stuff, but I was how various mayors and different people are kind of stepping up the authoritarian fist to some degree. It's not saying that we shouldn't be concerned, but when they don't want to consider whether emergency powers are given for a specific period of time to be renewed if necessary, things like that, I think that kind of...
that some people might roll them out and not take them back, essentially. You keep pushing the envelope to where people in certain positions have more power, and then... after that, they just decide that maybe I should just keep this power in case I need it later, instead of having something that could be enacted during a crisis and end when the crisis is over.
Yeah, exactly. We've seen this, they compare this to 9/11 in a lot of ways, and I think that's one of the things is, everybody lining up at the trial, the power and the money trial, but the things that we get, a lot of them aren't going to go away. And I guess Derek's trying to call now. I'm not sure. I think Johnny's getting that. I'm not sure what's going on. Got the lights lighting up and things going off. Got Illinois' governors planning to issue a shelter-in-place order for the entire state starting Saturday. So, hey, have you heard from Derek? He says he's trying to call.
That's Derek right now. You want to put him on?
Yeah, let's bring him on and get this going, because it's a good... Hey, Derek.
Hello, Mr. Bros.
You're on right in time. You're on right in time, because it was getting a little chaotic. But no, at the same time, we had just talked a little bit about the mayor of Houston getting the indefinite emergency powers, and we were going to play that clip from City Council. But I think if you could maybe give your take on that video that you did about the indefinite powers of the mayor. We're gonna line up that clip from City Council, but if you want to frame that, we'll play that probably when we get done talking to you. I'm sure we'll talk about other things, but that's where we were when you lit up the board. Hey, what's up?
Hey guys, what's up, man? Good to hear your voices. As you said earlier, I was listening. I'm calling from Mexico right now. I got here yesterday morning, and today we heard that they're closing the borders of Mexico, and they already closed the borders of Canada. So, depending on how you look at it, I got here just in time, according. As far as I feel, I'm sure some people would rather be on that side of the border. But, yeah, I'm out here, and it looks like this might be an indefinite period. We'll see how things play. As far as the mayor's declaration of emergency, I do think it's important for the people of Houston who are hearing this to recognize exactly what took place, that about 2 weeks ago, the city of Houston declared a state of emergency. It was 1 week. And then this past week, just a couple of days ago, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, Tuesday, the city council met for an emergency meeting. And they basically voted to extend the mayor's emergency powers, and they voted to extend it indefinitely. And just a couple of points on that. This is not the first time it's happened before. Just to be clear, it has happened before with, say, like Hurricane Harvey and stuff like that. So it's not necessarily an unprecedented thing. But in this particular case, the mayor's statement said that, they're going to work with state, local, and federal authorities. They're going to do everything they can to contain and mitigate and treat COVID-19. And the only council member that spoke up was Councilmember Greg Travis, who also has spoken up in the past about 5G and things of that sort. He was the only one that, other than Councilmember Knox, who also kind of spoke up and said, like, maybe we should be careful with just giving the mayor indefinite power. They actually introduced a resolution and amendment to the emergency order saying that the city council would revisit it every week just to make sure that, such an order is necessary. Because as you guys know, and I'm sure as our listeners know, that we've seen time and time again since 9/11 that politicians from the local to the federal level will ask for power during an emergency or a crisis, and they very rarely ever let go of that power, and they like to seek to expand that power. So Councilmember Knox and Councilmember Travis were just kind of expressing their opposition to that. Councilmember Travis was a little more blunt in saying that, he specifically said, I want you council members to read this. This ordinance, or this emergency order, says that the only thing that can put an end to the emergency declaration, the indefinite powers of the mayor, would be either a vote by city council or the mayor himself. And Travis was quick to remind the council members that they don't set the agenda. The mayor does. And this is one of the things we talked about during my campaign for mayor, is that the mayor of Houston is one of the strongest in the country. He's almost like a local dictator in the sense that he can decide what gets set on the agenda and therefore what gets voted on. So if council members approve this measure, as they did, that effectively means the only one who could end this emergency order and whatever powers the mayor takes with it is the mayor himself. And they clarified that, yes, it was an indefinite order. It was an indefinite order. And so I thought it was pretty reasonable for Councilmember Travis and Knox to make that, one of their goals is just to say, let's review this once a week. I mean, that's not that crazy. But it got really heated in city council, and ultimately the ordinance or the...
I think we lost Derek.
Uh-oh. Yeah. Maybe that connection in Mexico.
Intro. Well, we can watch for him to call back if he does. Otherwise, we do have the piece that he's talking about, and we do want to play that. Hey, that's probably him calling right back.
Hello, KPFT.
All right. So, yeah, we do want to thank Councilmember Travis for at least, questioning whether this should be indefinite or not. That seems pretty valuable.
Hey, you back in, Derek? What happened?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened.
The virus didn't cut off the line, did it?
Now,
who knows? But, so, what I was just trying to say there, Micah and Johnny, is just that we have only one, maybe two council members willing to even challenge the power of the mayor in this situation. And it's unfortunate because this emergency, this crisis, that people around the country are being given all kinds of extreme powers. I know you guys probably have other callers who want to call in, but guys, if you don't mind, I want to just read a couple of headlines that I've found that kind of illustrate the point.
Hey, Derek.
Yeah.
Well, one thing real quick. What about the idea of these, as you mentioned, these small fiefdom, these small dictators or whatever, petite dictators, these individuals that have armies of 5,000 people or so that are now also, we forget, are militarized over the last 8 years.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. I mean, we have local police with toys that came from Afghanistan and Iraq, right? And we have police with stingrays and with cameras. And I will remind you guys, our listeners, we were talking about this last week, that just a couple of weeks ago, the mayor issued his call for, the surveillance state, asking the private industry to fund $8.5 million to put cameras and partner with Amazon Ring's doorbell camera. And so it's not a very pretty situation when you put all those pieces together.
I did have another question, dude, because you talked about all these powers in the emergency situation, but you didn't actually mention what the powers were. So, what would what indefinitely would the mayor be able to do as opposed to like what he could do during outside of a crisis?
Okay, so that's a good question, Johnny. So that's the thing. One of the problems is that it's the language, as is typical with governments, is pretty vague, right, and broad, and it's easy for them to kind of maybe start off small and then expand it. Now, that doesn't mean that the mayor is going to immediately declare martial law or some crazy things like that. I will say that there's a lot of rumors floating around the internet and around Houston to the point that the mayor himself addressed these rumors today and yesterday during press conferences saying, we're not going to shut the city down, although I think he's probably lying, just to be blunt and forward. I think he's lying based on what I'm seeing and based on what's happening elsewhere around the country. He's saying that's not going to happen. But this emergency order would give the mayor that ability. And the video Michael was talking about, I put this video out a couple days ago. I played some of the press conference, and I discussed it. And I'll read you the specific language because, like I said, it's really vague. It doesn't go into details like point 1, point 2, point 3, he can do this. It just says the mayor will allow the mayor to make decisions to work with the county, state, and federal officials to contain and mitigate COVID-19 spread and to protect members of the public. And so I called into the mayor's press secretary, and I tried to get more specific information. I specifically was trying to ask how this emergency indefinite power, what it has to do with, if it has anything to do with vaccinations for COVID-19, because, again, it says that they can make decisions to work with the county, state, and federal officials to contain and mitigate COVID-19 spread and protect members of the public. So pretty general and vague, but it can be interpreted a million ways. And as we've seen typically with governments and politicians, they're going to interpret that as broadly and widely as they can. And I will say that when I asked Mary Benton, the mayor's press secretary, when I was trying to ask, so how does this order relate to any future vaccines? Of course, there's no vaccine for COVID-19 at the moment, but we're getting all the reports in the press that they're working on one daily. They're trying to get it figured out right now. And so I was just trying to clarify if that could be, forced, I guess you could say, on the people or mandated. And she basically refused to answer my question and then kind of hung up on me. So the answer to your question, Johnny, is we just don't know. But all we know is that it's an indefinite power, and however they choose to interpret it, it's indefinite, and there's no way that it can be overturned.
It's so strange to me because, it's funny the way its language is. It seems like the mayor already had the power to do what he needed to do to protect us. Isn't that his job? Just reiterating his normal job, saying the mayor can now protect the citizens. Go ahead and do what you have to do. I don't understand. Oh, you still there, Derek?
We may have lost him this time.
Oops.
I'm not sure. But yeah, that's
really
some serious
good
stuff. To tie in with that, and if Derek could hear it, it'd be really cool. There's a story out in BuzzFeed Tech talking about, and this is something that happened on Twitter and Instagram.
I think Derek's back.
Derek, you're back. Hey.
Yeah, I'm back. I don't want to take up too much from the time, guys, because I did ask somebody else to call into the show that has some important information they want to share, and I hope she will call in. But the last thing I want to say, because, we said this last week, guys, when we were there, and we all kind of actually were for the audience, just to be aware, we were kind of well, we're not sure if we're going to see each other again. And I did come to Mexico because I personally feel safer out here. For those who are paying attention, the kind of things that we're describing happening in Houston are happening all around the country right now. There are, lockdowns taking place. There are quarantines. The whole city and the Bay Area of San Francisco is locked down. The entire state of California is locked down. And just like the mayor and the president of the United States, Donald Trump, is reassuring the people that there's no martial law coming, there's no shutdowns coming. But I will say I've talked with people in FEMA, I've talked with folks from the DOD, Department of Defense, and others, and various contacts I have, and it seems like it's an inevitability. And if we look at, Micah mentioned that we talked to a gentleman from Italy on Monday, and if you watch the timeline of events, it seems like it's inevitable that the country will be locked down. It starts, only gather with events of 500 people, then 200 people, then 50 people, then 10 people, then self-quarantine, social distancing, and then non-essential travel. We're dealing with somewhat of an unprecedented event that you have the Canadian border now shut down to non-essential travel. You have the Mexican border shut down to non-essential travel. and they've discussed several times shutting down interstate travel in the United States. We're also seeing things like, I know Micah was mentioning a lot of the economic things. We're also seeing an explosion in gun sales around the country because you also throw into the mix that various police departments are saying they're not going to respond to calls anymore unless they're life-threatening, situations. So they said, like, things like burglary aren't going to be dealt with anymore. There's also talks of getting some people out of prison and jail, which I think is not a horrible idea because those places are cesspools for filth and for spreading of disease. But it depends. Are they going to be letting only violent criminals out who are there for stupid drug crimes? Or are they going to be letting people out who are potentially violent criminals, and at the same time the police not responding? I mean, there's a recipe for disaster that's brewing here, and I think that the people of Houston need to be very aware of that. I just take this for what it's worth, but I don't think that we should place much stock in what the mayor of Houston says when he tells you that stores aren't going to get shut down, that there's not going to be any lockdown. We already have National Guard in 20 different states across the country. And before my phone gets disconnected again, I just want to read a couple of headlines, just the headlines to you guys, just so that people can kind of take this in. To curb COVID-19, China is using high-tech surveillance tools. Creating the new normal, surveillance response to COVID-19. The CDC announces surveillance plan for COVID-19. The Electronic Frontier Foundation says facial recognition surveillance is not the solution to the COVID-19 crisis. COVID-19 crisis. The tracking data and surveillance risks are more dangerous than their rewards. U.S., Israel, South Korea, and China introduce intrusive surveillance solutions for tracking COVID-19 solutions. Vice.com says COVID-19 could provide cover for domestic surveillance expansion. I mean, there's a reality that is unfolding right now around us, and it is that these folks are going to take as much power as they can during this crisis. I am definitely praying for everybody out there who's dealing with illnesses and staying, stay healthy. Don't put yourself in unnecessary situations. But I'm also vastly more concerned with the amount of power that is being seized right now. We also had just the other day, Donald Trump initiated the, trying to pull up the defense, another bill that has been in place, like Michael, we've talked about this, the Homeland Security Act and other acts that are already on the books that they just have to pull up whenever they want to, take care of them and use them. So it's called the Defense Production Act, which essentially seems like it allows the president to requisition property, force industry to expand production, wage and price controls. I mean, for a president who says he's very much against socialism, it sounds like central planning of the economy, and the COVID-19 crisis is being used as the reason for this. And I really, really hope that people are thinking about this.
Just remember, the fascists were totally against socialists too.
Oh yeah, everybody's against what they think that their enemy is until it's opportune for them to seize it and to use it for their own purposes. So whatever happens, guys, I mean, it's kind of crazy, but I don't know when I'm going to see you guys again. I don't know when I'm going to see my family again. I don't know. These are realities that we're dealing with now, and this is a decision I made. But even if I was in Houston, I might not be able to see them, right? So I mean, I look forward to staying in touch with everybody, and as long as I'm out here and as long as you guys are broadcasting the show, I'll call in to share what I'm finding. I will say that out here in Mexico, things are much more chill for the moment. There are parts of the country that are starting to tell people, don't go to work. We've seen some long lines at banks, just like in the U.S. That's another thing. The banks are starting to close down many of their locations, close down their lobbies, and they're saying it's just to avoid contact with people. But I think we will eventually.
So you can only withdraw what you can withdraw from the ATM, which is only a certain amount per day. They had a number of banks in New York City that were running out of cash. There's a cash crunch. And then the bailouts will be the recovery, right? And everybody will get their check, and these big businesses will get their billions. Hey, I'm sorry to interject with that, but that's part of what you're saying. But at the same time, Derek, there was another story from a little while back I wanted to tie in real quick while you're still here. Did you know that Ring was bragging on Instagram and Twitter about the millions or thousands of kids that they tracked on Halloween? Actually, millions, yes. That they were tracking them through Ring, door to door. So yeah, thought that was kind of interesting.
Well, hey guys, I actually got some breaking news that's relevant to all of us and everybody listening right here. Just got the email from KPFT effective today, March 20th, 2020 at 7 p.m. All staff, which includes both on-air staff, FM and HD, will not be allowed in the building. We apologize for any inconvenience. So it says that if we want to pre-record our shows, we can send in MP3s and at least 3 days in advance, and the show, there's no guarantee the show will be aired, but we will review it as the shows are received for air quality. So if it's not quality enough for the radio, or maybe if they don't like the content, who knows, it might not make it on air. So, guys, this might be the last time we're speaking to the Houston audience on the FM airwaves.
It sounds like it's going to be the last time you get a live broadcast of Freethinker Radio for a good minute. And we'll definitely let you know on our recorded broadcast when we recorded them, so you know how relevant the date is, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm glad you let us know about that, because I'm not on my email right now. But yeah, this is serious, and you can bet it's serious, and everybody, all the banksters and everybody's lining up at the trial for both money and power. And it's the same as it is every crisis, and they don't want to let it go to waste.
Yeah, and I want to just suggest this to you and say it on air, so because we've talked about this as far as contingency plans. Maybe the three of us can still get on a Skype call or a Zoom call, and I have the capabilities to broadcast that, so we can still broadcast maybe every Friday at the same time via the Conscious Resistance YouTube channel and all the channels we've been using going forward. So I just want to recommend, if people we get a lot of callers who say they love Freethinker Radio and they love hearing us, visit thehoustonfreethinkers.com. That's our website. We'll post updates after today on exactly how and when you can hear us. And, guys, I think we should just stick to the schedule every Friday at 3 p.m. if people are used to hearing us.
I'm prepared to do that. I don't think
we do that and send that in.
Yeah, I don't think there should be any less voices out there talking about what's going on.
We can just send that to them as the show for them to broadcast or whatever.
So, yeah, visit thehoustonfreethinkers.com. We'll make sure to post some updates once the three of us get to talk and figure out the details. But, yeah, it sounds like KPFT, as you know, it is going to be shut down for a little bit. There might be some pre-recorded broadcasts, but as of 7 tonight, it's going to be closing down to everybody.
Serious
really
stuff.
Crazy considering there's only just a couple of us in here at a time, and we have been wiping everything down. We're talking through some Lysol rags right now.
Yeah, we got the Clorox rags right here. Hats for our microphones, protecting us with that armor. So that's a step up. Thank you, KPFT.
Yeah, thank you, and definitely thank you, KPFT.
Well,
hey guys, look, while I got a second, I know I've taken up a lot of time. I just want to say one more thing in case the caller doesn't call in, because she might be shy to call in on air. But just another kind of thing to throw at people, right, with everything going on.
Throw it.
There have been some reports floating around the internet, and I'm real skeptical with just random stuff online, but people have been saying in different places around the country, hey, I noticed that even though the schools are being shut down, there's a lot of trucks, different vans. They look like work vans that are parked at the schools. And so there was this kind of rumor floating around where somebody was claiming, hey, I saw this white truck. I checked out the company. I called into the school, and the school said that they were installing fiber to bring 5G into the schools, even though the schools are shut down. So I saw that a couple times floating around the internet, and I was like, okay, that could be something. I looked at some of the companies. It didn't really seem to be much. But as of just about an hour ago, I have a woman from Friendswood. I'm not going to say her name, but again, if you're listening, please do call in and share it directly with the guys, 713-526-5738. She sent me 3 pictures of some trucks at a Friendswood area school, and the company, when you look up the company, they definitely deal in Wi-Fi and similar services. She said she called, let me see if I can read her direct statement here. She said she called into the school and was told that, yes, it was for 5G. Okay, the company has been all over the main road in Friendswood digging. Many trucks are here. I called the company, and I was told it is pipe installation for fiber optic cables. I asked if it was for 5G. She said yes, and she said she hasn't been able to get any information from the city. So this is just another thing people are worried about, and I don't know what this has to do with anything, how it's related, but it does seem to be that while the schools are shut down, these reports could have some truth to them, and we're getting a direct report now in the Houston area that some schools are, while the kids are gone, there's still work going on. We were told that there's going to be people there disinfecting the schools, and it seems like while that might be true, there's also some work going on that could maybe expedite 5G into the school system. So if anybody has any information about that, feel free to call in to Freethinker Radio.
Yeah, and that's 713-526-5738 if you want to call in with information about that.
No doubt.
I'm going to leave it there, guys. I appreciate you letting me call in, man. Miss you guys, and really I know we can keep sharing the information with people, and I hope that our listeners will be loyal and will go check us out at the HoustonFreethinkers.com or at Freethinker Radio on Facebook so that they can with all the info that we're.
Yeah, that's all really
Absolutely,
important.
brother.
That's all really important stuff. Thank you, Derek, and thanks for taking the time to call in. So,
All right, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, love you, buddy.
So, every episode of Freethinker Radio is special, and this one sounds like it's going to be very special in a lot of ways, being perhaps the last live one. And
That makes
the
me really
last-
sad.
The last live one, at least for a little while. I was going to play this video clip. We only have so much time. I think we got the overall. You can go out there and hear it. But it's about 5 minutes worth of time that I think we could spend on a few other things. And I did, I almost want to reiterate that fact that, Ring was happy every time a doorbell dinged to, video these kids running around on Halloween. Most people would be like, that's creepy videoing kids running around on Halloween. But, Ring can do it and brag on Instagram. And then they want to partner up with the city to record everybody. Interesting. So yeah, that was one of our articles to get into, and we kind of hit around on it earlier. Johnny mentioned how Monsanto changed their name. That's because they were bought by Bayer a while back, and we had to go down memory lane to see that one. So that's why you don't hear about Monsanto. Bayer's got its own horrible history that you can get all into, that it makes sense that they would acquire Monsanto to
Well,
add
nobody
to
really
their
nice is going to
legion.
buy that company.
Yeah, that's true. He's a really nice guy. He just bought
I'm going
Monsanto.
to turn it around from the inside.
Yeah, no doubt. You hear about these things, but you don't really see them ever. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. I did talk to a number of silver dealers today because I don't know if y'all noticed, we've talked a number of times about the bailouts that are coming with regard to this. We also say that some of these stocks look the market's taken the biggest hits since in 2008. The Dow sank 4.5 points, or 4.5% today, 400 points earlier. They shut the market down 3 times about 4 days ago, twice during the day and once in after-hour trading. I mean, there's a lot of crazy things going on economically. At the same time, silver showing $12.30 or $12.50 an ounce, down from like $17 and $18. We know it's going to go back up in the long run because of all the printing that's ensuing. If you just, think about that a little bit, because that's what happens every time. But despite the fact that it's listed at $12.30 whatever an ounce, you cannot find it in Houston for $12.30 an ounce. Good luck. You're going to find it at before this pandemic pricing, because they all know that it's going to go back up, and it's going to go back up with a vengeance as they continue to print, because more and more of something makes it worth less and worth less until it's worthless. So if you already got enough toilet paper, you might want to start thinking about your economic house, because things are going to change. All these comparisons to 9/11 and the 2008 crisis are probably for a reason, and they want everybody just to go, okay, yeah, it was the virus that destroyed everything. It was the virus that tanked the economy. It was the virus, and if you say anything like that, they think you're, making light of it. But no, that's what everybody is saying. Only I'm saying it in a way like as an excuse, because that's what it seems, because they've been buying their own stock for a decade now. They're all flushing and sticking it to the companies that they've been able to buy back into. And meanwhile, the Dow's dropped more than 17% for the week. It's the biggest 1 week fall since October 2008, when it slid 18.2%. The S&P 500 lost more than 13%. And yet, at the same time, you see all these losses, yet somehow the silver market says silver's $12.36 an ounce, but you can't get it for that price. So what's going on there? Just more of the stuff that's going on. Meanwhile, we heard that some U.S. forces in Iraq got hit by Iranian upstarts or whatever, and our U.S. forces retaliated, but they didn't, and they claimed that they hit these Iranian upstarts, but really they killed an Iraqi soldier. That's 2 different countries, and a little militant is entirely different than a soldier of a country. So there's all kinds of things going on while we're hearing and buying up all the Sandy wipes, you know. There's lots of things that are going on. Derek covered one last week that I thought was really important that I don't have lined up here, but it was another one of these ones like the Goins one where they went in to serve a guy for having guns he wasn't supposed to have, but it turns out he was perfectly allowed to have them, and he ended up dead. So, I mean, don't get so preoccupied with all this stuff that you don't see all the other that you can, because I think that's another thing. They don't want to let moments of this go to waste. Like Derek was talking about putting things in the school. Why, like, even if you just had to refix a wall in the school, wouldn't you do that while the kids were gone? I'm just saying, some of these things make sense, but some of the other things are that same sort of mentality. Do it while no one's paying attention, but they're not good. They're not good at all. So, yeah. So, I don't know. What's on your mind, Johnny?
Actually, MOD is itching to hop on the line, so I'm going to put him on because he said he's got something very important for us.
Oh,
No. It appears we've lost MOD, so please call back, buddy.
I was kind of sad to see that Tulsi Gabbard said on Thursday that she dropped out of the Democratic president primary race. Not that I think she's absolutely great in everything or any.
I thought she was the only anti-war candidate.
That's pretty much where I was going with that, because she seemed to be consistent on that. Everybody else is all over the place, and yeah, you know, so she's out of there. So you don't even have a true anti-war candidate to talk about or to support, you know, because sometimes I'm voting for some people, even though I firmly do believe not everybody's going to vote for them, because I even feel like having that 10% or whatever percent shows that we weren't all just down for Hitler or whatever, you know.
Yeah,
I feel like, you know, it's kind of, some people go, well, don't waste it. I don't feel like that's a waste. I got to vote for somebody I wanted. I thought this was interesting too. Y'all may not know, but Mnuchin, I don't know how y'all like to say his name. I've heard it a few different ways, but it turns out that, the Treasury Secretary, like so many of them, the Goldman Sachs man, he is a Goldman Sachs bankster after all, has said that the, stimulus measure is too small, and wants to include direct payments to individuals to mitigate the economic consequences of the outbreak. So, do we have our caller?
Hello.
How are you today?
Wow, that's heavy.
It is heavy. And yeah, so we got our Goldman Sachs representative saying that the current stimulus package isn't enough.
Right.
It wouldn't be our last live show if MOD didn't finish things off.
Oh, no
What's on your
doubt,
mind,
man.
All right. Okay. So this distraction worked out pretty good last year, didn't it? With the impeachment carrying us through most of the year.
No doubt. That was good stuff. Main media.
Okay. And then the market run started September 17th, right, Micah?
That sounds, yeah. Yep.
Okay. September 17th is when the market went insolvent, identical to 2008. Within the months following, in December, this local code, Corona-19, started in China. We didn't hear about it in the States until the second week of January, right?
Yeah, I think that's all right. And when you say the September part, that's when we went to when we started getting the printing overnight every night, the 50 billion package, and it was the 10% overnight lending rate. Or
exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So this at this time. The time when that guy from Iran, the Salamali, was killed, the market had $6 trillion dumped into it by the Fed, right?
Yes.
Okay, so here we go. So at this time, this coronavirus would be the first time in the world's history to ever be considered a pandemic. This particular one. What I'm going to conclude, or what I'm leading toward the end, is that there's only one death in Russia, a 73-year-old woman, and China is back to work. What's going on, guys, is China and Russia are going to finish rock and rolling, taking over Euro-Asia. The states will basically bankrupt. And our conquering that we did for, let's say, certain interests, the U.S. has helped conquer the world. We have prim and propered China for Euro-Asia, Africa, and parts of the Americas. So the concern from your Monday show, Micah,
yeah, we're listening,
that you had with all those callers calling in talking about the martial law or the totalitarian thing that Derek's talking about.
Yes.
This is all in place. The DPA, Defense Production Act,
that Trump has been on the books since 1950. And it basically gives the executive branch power to run the government, so the country's commerce. So that law has been on the books for 70 years, and it's been passed by every president. There is anyway. The point. Go ahead.
I said, imagine that.
Right. So what's important to understand is when this code is gone in a couple of weeks, what position on our social infrastructure are we going to have? And that's what Derek's concern is. If we are bankrupt, and it's done. Now the thing is, will we be like Russia? Meaning, when Russia was duped into going into Afghanistan, when the Soviet Union was duped into going into Afghanistan, they militarily extended themselves and they collapsed. The wall came down. What's going to happen to the U.S. now after this market crash and this martial law from the medical martial law is lifted? What condition will the states be economically? And that's what I want you listeners and yourself to think about is what's going to happen when this code goes away, I guess, if that's okay.
No, that's really important to see beyond it, not just in terms of what's going on beyond it right now, but also the world afterwards and how we're going to continue onward. And one thing we have been reminding people is that it's spring. It's a good time to plant food.
Right. Well, see, the California, 40 million people, state quarantine. New York, Como just said, 100% workforce lockdown.
Illinois is joining the list. They're talking about shelter in place, and that's the prelude.
Well, we're the next biggest city after that, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's 1.4 billion people in China. There's less than 400 million in the States, and only 3,200 people died from this coronavirus. There are less than 3 dozen people dead in the States. But for some reason, let's say that, during H1N1, during Obama, there were officially 15,000, but more or less more than 20,000 in the 2009 H1N1. 60.8 million people in the U.S. had it. This is on its downturn. I don't know if you can look at the Hawkins site. China is almost cleared up. The point I'm trying to make is there's something wrong with this cold being a global pandemic, which this type of cold was never before a pandemic. And now things are going into lockdown to Derek's concern.
Yeah, what do you think could be done? We're wrapping up. What do you think could be done in the face of that? What do you say? Write your congressman?
Yeah, no. I would say stay outside. Like Australia is no more than 5 people together.
Yeah.
So if we're outside, I think it was beautiful. You said earlier people are walking their dogs.
Yeah.
Don't go into this mind blunk. Being this is like a prelude of lockdown. Get outside and walk while we can, and don't be watching the TV because it's on 24/7. The market's crashed, and it's going to continue to crash and contract. And the U.S. overextension of its military is going to be like Russia, and Russia and China already are in the process of taking over Euro-Asia and Africa. There are 10,000 plus businesses in Africa. They have highways. No one's talking about that infrastructure that's being built over here in Americas. We're in the corner. What's that called? Safety distance, what do they call it? Don't do safety distance. I mean, go outside. Don't fart or sneeze on somebody, but get outside and don't watch the TV. It's going to make you sad.
It is. And if we're going to talk about moving forward and building forward, it's going to take imagination, cooperation, and just real work. And like you said, you can't just focus on this. We talk about how you can't just focus on negative stuff. There's nonstop for a decade of doing this negative moves by the authoritarians and power brokers.
Let's not forget the rugged individualism that is America. Like the people in this country, there's a reason that we get through things.
And we're stronger now probably than ever before. We got a lot more diverse people. Maybe we have a lot of sheeple too, but I also think we have access and have had access for a while. I think the people that are in the know have some prelude of what's going on now and aren't just stockpiling TP, but are doing other things.
Johnny was hit the spot on. We're men. I'm sorry. There are still men in the world, and we have to defend our family. and our community. And so we stand up for that aspect of these crises instead of being wimps. And I'm sorry to make it sound that way, guys, but we are supposed to be doing it.
Well, the only time you can really choose to be courageous is in the face of something that calls
Very
for
good.
courage.
Yeah.
And so don't run and take all the toilet paper and get in your corner. What I'm stressing on Euro-Asia, guys, is that the old guard has been passed to the new guard, and that's China and Russia. And I'm sorry that we're hearing frightened out of the bejesus about this cold that hasn't killed 3 dozen people.
No doubt. I think that's very important. And like I said, don't fall for the panic-demic. Because, it seems like that's some of it. See, there's a new U.S.
Can you announce your show y'all guys are going to be doing in place of this, if this is going down?
Yeah, we're gonna be doing that, and
we're going to be live streaming at the Conscious Resistance YouTube at the same time every week. We're going to be sending that and maybe other stuff into the station for them to broadcast.
Why don't you message us your phone number, and you can call into our other show as well.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, don't be scared, man. This is it. Let's now be men and take care of our families and our community.
Definitely empowerment. It's good talking to you. We're out of here. You have a great day, MOD.
We'll
Peace,
talk to you again.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Johnny. It's been a good show. They always go by so fast over here in the 1 hour block. Thank you to everybody that tried to call in. I know people didn't get through, and I'm looking forward to listening to Afrotronic on the way home and trying to let some of this stuff unwind. We had so many things we didn't get to. The U.S. anti-encryption bill threatens private speech online. That's out at Bitcoin Magazine. You can get into it. We're out of here, y'all.
All right. Much love.